IS-091 is the most intense AV candidate we've ever encountered. Despite its appearance, it's a transcorporeal entity of some kind, invulnerable to any of the physical deterrents we've tested so far. Walls, doors, shielding, they do nothing to impede it. Intriguingly, it only appears to a single viewer at one time. Dr. Stern has that dubious honor. He identified it in the field and it followed him back here. Began materializing in the facility, looking for him like a lost puppy. Dr. Derek Manse reporting, Research Director. We've discovered that direct observation from the targeted subject arrests 091's movement. It then dematerializes. Where it goes, we're uncertain. But it returns 3 or 4 hours later, seeking out the original subject. We've dosed Dr. Stern with a CNS to keep him awake, but he has to sleep at some point. And then, well, we're not entirely sure.
Dr. Manse, Cascade Facility.
091 is contained, at last. As long as we project a strong X-ray beam and it remains steady, it seems to be no risk to anyone. Dr. Stern can sleep easy, but we do fear it may switch to another individual before long. The team have started referring to it as the Layak, its local name. Even Anderson, it seems. I suppose Cascade is its home now. As we dispatch our TR teams to further regions of Antiverse 2, they return with new specimens, most of them variations of a few basic forms. When introduced to the gate facility, these organisms continue to evolve rapidly, acquiring new behaviors. It is my theory that the entropy delta is responsible. How far this evolution will extend remains to be seen. The self-painted variants of IS-184 are truly intriguing specimens. These priests or monks show clear indication of tool-making and ritualistic behavior. It seems to have formed a rudimentary civilization in one of the Antiverse 2 locations we've accessed. This raises intriguing research questions, as well as some ethical implications, I suppose. Though I'd note that these haven't stopped us previously. Though we haven't yet captured a complete specimen of 139, Dr. Thule took a sample of its dust. But this raised more questions than answers. Foremost, 139 appears primarily to be a host rather than an individual. Pendleton theorizes 139 may be suffering an infection, which will require tests to ensure no cross-contamination can occur. And if true, we're unsure whether its behaviors are innate to the original being or a byproduct. It's quite a tangled web, really. We'll need more time. The properties of 139's residue is fascinating. I'm not entirely sure where to begin, but the being disintegrates during extreme stress, leaving behind a material that can store and distribute electrical charge with extraordinary efficiency. The applications of high-density, rapid discharge power storage are obvious even to a curmudgeon like Thule, who for reasons entirely beyond me continues to enjoy the trust of the executive committee. Even he should be able to understand. Here is a big bang from a small package.
Dr. Derek Manse reporting. IS-064, or The Composer, a piece of reluctant poetry from yours truly, displays a high degree of synchronized behavior. Dr. Pendleton speculates they are interconnected in some fashion. A hive mind, perhaps? Interestingly, these synchronized behaviors vanish when the large protrusions are separated from what you would call its shoulders. We also cannot rule out the mist as some kind of transference medium. This is Dr. Derek Manse. When I visited Dr. Stern's laboratory today, he was acting oddly, even by his standards. He seemed extremely agitated, speaking too fast to follow. Then I saw the empty can from IS-53. I would have thought a man of Dr. Stern's apparent intelligence would know better than to imbibe beverages from a dispenser that appeared literally from nowhere, restocks itself, and cannot be turned off. I will be pushing Anderson to review the protocols that allow such a device to sit in an open hallway.
Note on IS-102. We have determined the bacteriophage recovered by Lenora's team from Antiverse 16 is a form of symbiote used by local species to assist mating. You could almost call it a love potion. Preliminary tests show the effects on mammalian biology are extremely traumatic. I have suggested Dr. Tenku not include images in her first report, if she wishes to continue her research. Update on IS-102. Human exposure to the phage has highly negative effects, transforming victims into hyper-aggressive, mindless predators. While it encourages breeding in its original hosts, human hosts seem only to consume one another. If there are useful applications of this phenomenon, I am slow to see them. I have given Tenku 2 weeks to show productive results.
I have had to secure IS-52 personally, following the latest abuse of containment procedures by staff in C-blocks. I understand fully well the attraction of jumping 3 times higher than normal, or floating gently down from the 3rd story of the megalift, but the gravity cube is not a toy. While I admit to a light skip as I carried it to its containment cell, it is a profound and unique disturbance in the space-time fabric of our universe. It's also quite glowy. Dr. Manse, Cascade Facility. When people ask where we found IS-0172, I tell them the truth. It was recovered from a kebab restaurant in rural Turkey, where it was being used as a doorstop. The fact that it is, by a factor of tens, the oldest known manufactured object on Earth, forged from alloys not to be invented for another 1.7 million years, was irrelevant to the owner, who accepted in exchange 50 lira and a small rock. We are no closer to identifying its creators.
My personal disinclination towards firearms in general leaves me largely underprepared to record anything of value surrounding 099. I'm not what you might call a gun nut. I can tell you it's antique. I can go on about its material makeup and even tell you how it functions on a chemical level. The answer is, mundanely, this shotgun shows no anomalous properties when held or fired. But it certainly did at one point in time. We've tried different personnel, brought it back to its place of origin, and tried several types of ammunition. At present, it bruises your shoulder when you fire it. Testing is ongoing for now.
Dr. Pendleton and I had a frank exchange of views today. I described IS-055 as a noxious weed and suggested that recent events in the reactors have borne this out. But she insisted that Antiverse flowers had a beauty to them. I was not in the mood for a lesson in aesthetics, and pointed out that so does a mushroom cloud. Dr. Manse, Cascade Facility. The tub of blood. Dramatic, I know, but this entity gives me, in scientific terms, the heebie-jeebies, and it's uniquely dangerous. We've locked it in a cell, and that seems to work well enough. It doesn't liquefy or slip through drains, as Tang feared. It's solid enough and prefers to stay near its point of origin. We send cleaners through every morning to spray down the walls. IC-13 tends to touch everything in sight when it crawls out of its metallic cocoon. We found the tub, more of a metal trough in after reports of a blood-covered nighttime boogeyman. The gatekeepers performed a snatch-and-grab mission while it hibernated, though they claim it woke twice on the flight here. I've reviewed the footage. It's messy. I'm not sure we can ascertain its goal or where it goes when the tub refills. We've run tests on the blood to dismal results. 0 genetic matches. But we'll keep giving it a stir, figuratively speaking. To anyone considering study, investigation, or indeed any kind of interaction with the Red Chair, IS-018, I can advise only caution. Consider this piece of furniture a tool of assassination, no less for being so thoroughly arcane in its function. If you find yourself affected, we can do little to assist you. Exercise utmost care in its vicinity. No resting, no leaning, no sitting, reclining, or indeed any form of recumbence on or near this furnishing. It's also extremely damp, perpetually. Dr. Derek Manse reporting, Research Director. Recent attempts to coax IS-042 into a new home have been unsuccessful. We believe the creature, if indeed that word is appropriate, prefers mannerist art, and so provided several potential new pieces for it to inhabit, but to no avail. Dr. Tang wishes to determine whether the entity is trapped in its current environment, inactive, or simply wishes to remain where it is. But his suggestions risk destroying the work in question. I have told him to adjust his methods. Antique artworks aside, I have always been a bit of a dog person. I have no desire to risk harming 042. Dr. Derek Manse reporting, Research Director, Gate Cascade Research Facility. I've been asked to provide a report on the recent incident involving IS-017. Our protocols around this subject have been extremely cautious since the difficult experience of the Recon team that recovered it in 1986. We have been candid about its psychiatric effects and the difficulty of predicting their duration. The incident in question concerned a staff member who had recently suffered a difficult breakup. He wished to remove all memory of his paramour. While successful and informative, 017 wiped considerably more memory than he expected. We're banning this kind of haphazard practice going forward. Dr. Derek Manse reporting. I can summarize IS-169 in a single word. Nothing. Recovered from a nameless hill in Exmoor, England. We have no further information. We cannot seem to sample, mark, or damage it in any way. Incredibly, it appears to be without mass, moving as easily as a mote of dust, with no apparent space-time presence of any kind. Of the larger object we presume it was once attached to, there is no trace. Of its existence we have only the evidence of our eyes, nothing more, and no theory to attach to it. Dr. Derek Manse reporting. There is a category of immurement subjects that pile mystery upon mystery, as if their purpose was only to confound us. When I look at IS-166, I am tempted to suspect the work of a cosmic jester, whose sole aim is to sabotage any chance we have of forming a consistent picture of the universe. Why does this object weigh 3 times as much when turned upside down? How did it come to be built into the Berlin Wall? Why does Dr. Tenku insist on sketching it over and over and over again? Of finding answers to these questions, I have vanishingly little hope. Dr. Derek Manse reporting, Research Director. Dr. Sukov came to me today and announced she was terminating her investigations into 014. The principal obstacle appears to be the object itself. Our tools cease to function, or they operate at an impossibly glacial pace when brought near it. Precisely what it is composed of, whether hollow or solid, even these simple questions are almost impossible to answer. 014 is to all intents and purposes impervious. I've never been entirely sure what Lenora sees in IS-111, or even why she brought it back from A21 in the first place. She says being near it gives her a warm, calm sense of peace. I pointed out that as the strange little furry cone of flesh seems to hunt entirely by telepathy, it's likely she was simply falling prey to its psychic lure. She did not seem overly concerned. But after all, that is her way. This is Dr. Derek Manse. Despite the obvious risks, IS-083 has become a regular lunchtime haunt for several staff members. They call it research, and in a facility such as this, there needs to be some lenience, I suppose, so long as no one forgets to close the door. This is Dr. Derek Manse. Now that IS-107 is on its way safely, for a time, towards interstellar space, I find myself taking a step back. In moments like this, one sees with shocking clarity how fantastical so much of our work and research here really is. If we weren't established and, by and large, esteemed scientists with decades of experience and education behind us, this place would sound nothing less than insane. Dr. Manse, Cascade Facility. Reporting on IS-138. A unique entity, 138 has the distinction of being both an immurement subject and an entire antiverse in one. I cannot emphasize how important it is that we invest any required resources in ensuring the train does not stop. We have compelling data to suggest that a cessation of the train's forward motion would have apocalyptic ramifications. I will explain more shortly. Dr. Derek Manse reporting, Research Director. We've had an interesting development. Some kind of spore has overgrown the entire entrance of the vacuum chamber. Given the range of material tested in there, it's impossible to know how it happened, and it spreads fast, to a point. But we found a way to remove the growth. One of Lenora's crew brought material back from a fungal region in Antiverse 2, a gel of sorts that can be combined with basic reagents to create an exceedingly high-temperature reaction. It dissolves this particular growth almost instantly. Harnessing the entropy delta is all well and good, but retrieving it from the Antiverse isn't exactly easy. The place makes hell look like Club Med. This is Dr. Manse. If you had asked me 5 years ago what our chances of using the Perforation system as a stable travel network were, I would have assumed I was talking to an imbecile. Today, such a network seems within our grasp. The T3 unit, or the dark lens they're calling it, has proven exceptionally successful. There are few places on Earth we cannot access under stable conditions. And finally, we can create those stable conditions. In theory. I would say our ambitions have extended far beyond their origins. Far beyond. After our first steps in Flathill and early on-site experiments beneath the hydroplant, Dr. Luhmann's dark lens is quite simply revolutionary. If anything, it's too powerful. The lens opens up an infinity of worlds to us. That said, the name appalls me. Why we gave critical equipment such a melodramatic name is beyond me. Are we scientists or B-grade villains lurking in some covert lair? This is Dr. Manse. Studying the tensor dynamics of our perforation system, there's one particular thing I've noticed. It seems that the distension of the continuum has an attractive effect, locally. Which is to say, left unguided, portals will ground their exits near other portals. If they weren't so unstable, I'd be tempted to suggest this could be exploited as a way to travel rapidly around the facility. I can imagine what Dr. Thule would think of that, unless it meant getting his coffee quicker. Dr. Yannick has taken another incredible leap forward. I confess some of the mathematics elude me, but the fact remains he appears to have instantiated a temporarily stable perforation, not just in space, but in time. There is no ethics committee that could advise us here. We are off the map. To anyone handling fluids of IS-121, the Tarrasque, be extremely careful. The I-Core has properties we've yet to fully assess, and can interfere, interrupt, or even instigate perforation events. I'm sure you're all aware of what happened to Dr. Stern last week. Luckily, we recovered him unharmed. Mostly. With thanks to the staff at Tory facility, we have the Tarrasque hooked up in that insufferably hot shroom room. Please ensure you do not disturb the arrangement. Dr. Derek Manse, Cascade. Report on the escape of IS-012. It seems 012 talked one of the new security staff into letting it out of high containment. Exactly how it did this is unclear, but we found it, the creature, eating in the break room an hour later. What point it was trying to make is equally uncertain, but this cannot be allowed to happen again. Dr. Derek Manse reporting. I have spent more time with IS-012 recently, but I've yet to fully fathom this creature. It insists it is a known and former member of our staff, even though I attended that man's funeral more than 2 years ago. So far, this entity has done nothing to threaten or jeopardize the facility. I even find it a bit charming, and perhaps it is harmless. But if I must choose, I'd rather be cruel than wrong. Its containment remains indefinite. Private note. I believe the Gate has the wherewithal, both political and practical, to withstand the attempts of almost any organization on the planet to interfere in our operations. There is only one group I'm aware of with the power to intrude on our operations here. Unfortunately, we seem to have fallen under their gaze, or perhaps always were. As much as Gate attempts to uncover the truth and technology behind the anomalies of this world, the Order seeks to suppress them. We are two antithetical principles, set to converge on a single point, and that avoids the obvious truth. If that point is our facility, I cannot guarantee the outcome.
This is Dr. Lenora Riggs, Recon 2 Primary. We have arrived safely in 168. Preliminary stellar comparisons suggest Earth or a potential analog, akin to 23 in the others. No contact planned with the inhabitants, as yet. We will continue to monitor them as we search for the signal source. Dr. Kesey is confident that it is close by. This will be my last broadcast before the Perforation closes, and we will initiate the return within 72 hours. Dr. Riggs, out.
Hello? About now. This is Dr. Abraham Stern, concerning immune procedures for IS-235. While I haven't had a tremendous amount of time with 235, certain phenomena would seem to suggest that our containment procedures are, well, they may be insufficient. The general attitude appears to be that 235 is a harmless curiosity, but close examination of the video cassette tape in which it currently abides has revealed small, even exiguous amounts of a substance that concerns me considerably. I performed some preliminary investigations, basic classifications with Dr. Ross, but we were unable to determine whether the residue was biological or chemical or even solid, for that matter. Slightly embarrassing, but for the record, I recommend assigning someone to investigate this. Properly. Reasonably soon.